A mortal body, remaining incorrupt after 1,000 years, has endured 3 calamities, with the last nearly leading to its destruction. Who, after all, is guarding it? The bell of Nanhua Temple resonates melodiously. Incense smoke rises gracefully, and the devotees bow reverently before that simple stone pagoda. Inside the pagoda sits a golden statue with a serene expression, as if immersed in deep meditation. These are the true relics of the 6th Patriarch of Chan Buddhism, Master Huineng, which have remained in the world for over 1,300 years and are renowned as a miracle of Buddhism. What many people do not know is that behind this golden statue lies a thrilling and profound story. He faced the crisis of destruction 3 times, teetered on the edge of fate 3 times, and each time someone stood up, using their flesh and blood to protect this heritage. Especially during the final calamity, an elderly monk risked his life to preserve this millennium-old, incorruptible golden body to the present day. Master Huineng was a figure of the Tang dynasty, passing away in the year 713 CE. According to ordinary reasoning, the physical body should have long since turned to dust. However, this woodcutter born into poverty, this illiterate yet exceptionally insightful Zen master, his physical body astonishingly remained incorruptible for 1,000 years. This is not only a miracle that science finds difficult to explain, but also a tangible symbol of the Zen spirit of sudden enlightenment. However, the impermanence of worldly affairs means that even such a sacred golden body cannot escape the trials of calamity. The flames of war, fanaticism, and greed repeatedly challenged this golden body, symbolizing the wisdom of Chinese Buddhism. Every time, nameless heroes step forward. Every time, untold stories unfold in the shadows. Every time, the wisdom of the Dharma shines brightly amid adversity. Let's trace history, revisiting these 3 calamities to observe the silent guardians and the profound Buddhist wisdom embodied behind them. In the year 878 CE, the land of China was engulfed in warfare. What had once been a prosperous era marked by favorable winds and timely rains became plagued by corruption within the imperial court and widespread suffering among the people. Huang Chao led a formidable uprising, sweeping through the nation with unstoppable force. Initially, this group set out with the aspiration to relieve suffering and save beings in distress, but gradually became corrupted during the prolonged struggles. During the conquest and occupation of cities, acts of arson, killing, looting, and pillaging were rampant, and even Buddhist temples and Taoist monasteries were not spared. Nanhua Temple is located in Shaozhou. Established under the governance of Shaoguan official Chao Shi, it is distant from the political center of Chang'an, yet it flourishes in spiritual activity due to enshrining the mummified body of the 6th Patriarch. In this late autumn, the local villagers fled into the temple, fearing that the master was unwell. The imperial army is coming this way. They burned down 3 temples to the east, claiming they want to eradicate superstition. The abbot of the temple, Venerable Kongming, wore a solemn expression. As the 36th direct Dharma heir of Master Huineng, he deeply understood the responsibility on his shoulders and convened all the monks of the temple to prepare for the relocation of the 6th Patriarch's golden body. As night fell, the flickering candlelight in the main hall of the temple illuminated the scene, where a dozen monks carefully lifted the golden statue of the 6th Patriarch from its lotus pedestal and placed it into a specially made tomb beneath. Monk Kongming announced the presentation of a yellow robe. This is the sacred relic bestowed upon Master Huineng by Emperor Gaozong of the Tang dynasty, carefully wrapped around the golden body. Amitabha Buddha, may the Venerable bequeath blessings upon the young monk who clasps his hands together and whispers his prayers. Venerable Kongming shook his head, saying that Shakyamuni Buddha would not protect anyone out of thin air. Even the golden body of the 6th Patriarch relies on the coming together of causes and conditions to exist. Now we are a part of this very cause and condition. As soon as the words fell, the distant thunder of hooves and shouting echoed. The imperial army had already breached the outer perimeter of the monastery. "It's too late," a young monk said anxiously. Venerable Kong Ming decisively stated, "Liberate emptiness, liberate clarity." You led 10 robust monks to leave through the secret path in the back mountain, carrying the golden body of the sixth patriarch to a hidden cave in Wuji Mountain of Lingnan, while the others stayed behind to handle the situation. Remember, no matter what happens, never reveal the whereabouts of the sixth patriarch's golden body. At the very moment the wooden coffin was being carried out of the rear door of the main hall, the front gate suddenly collapsed with a thunderous crash, and a squad of soldiers rushed into the hall, led by a commanding officer shouting orders. This is the temple where the true body of the sixth patriarch is said to be enshrined. Find that so-called incorruptible golden body and present it to the emperor. I have heard that the golden body is entirely made of treasures, worth thousands of gold. Venerable monk Kong Ming stood calmly at the center of the main hall. Amitabha Buddha, dear benefactor, why do you become so angry? The Pure Land of Buddhism should not be entered with weapons. When the cold wailing descends, old monks seldom put on pretenses here. You people indulge daily in lustful thoughts while hoarding wealth and provisions. It would be better to hand them over to aid the common people. You may hand over all the money and provisions, but please do not harm the Buddha statues and scriptures. Venerable Kong Ming spoke calmly. Without further ado, the golden body of the sixth patriarch appeared by the river of transmigratory beings, brandishing a blade at the neck of monk Kong Ming. Meanwhile, Jiekong and Jieming, along with other monks, carried the wooden casket containing the true body of the sixth patriarch, passing through the forest under the cover of night. They dared not light a lamp, relying solely on their familiarity with the mountain path to feel their way forward. Suddenly, the rapid sound of hooves came from behind. Someone whispered urgently, "Should we ask quickly and decide immediately? Let's split up. I'll take 3 people to continue forward. You take the rest to lead the pursuers away." Thus, these 6 groups of spiritual squads maneuvered through the pitch-black mountain forest. 3 days later, when they arrived at the secluded cave in Wuji Mountain exhausted, there were no signs of pursuers behind them. However, the news of returning to Nanhua Temple brought them overwhelming grief. More than half of the monastery was burned down, and the monk Kong Ming, along with the remaining monks who stayed behind to protect the monastery's treasures, were all killed. It is said that Master Kong Ming remained seated in meditation and chanting sutras at the time of his death, choosing to die rather than reveal the whereabouts of the sixth patriarch's jewel body. The golden body of the sixth patriarch was secretly enshrined in the cave of Wuji Mountain for a full 3 years. Until the imperial dynasty's rebel army was destroyed, the world returned to peace and stability. Jiekong and Jieming then welcomed the golden body of the sixth patriarch back to Nanhua Temple and renovated the main hall for its enshrinement. Guarding the newly re-enshrined golden statue of the sixth patriarch, Master Jiekong was filled with profound emotion. The Buddha was right. The Dharma is not preserved by the Buddha's blessings alone, but through the actions of sentient beings who uphold it. Although Master Jieming and others have passed away physically, their protective spirit endures forever. The external physical form may perish, but the true Buddha nature and wisdom endure forever. Jie Ming nodded in acknowledgement. Indeed, this calamity has deepened my understanding of the principle of impermanence. All phenomena in the world, including our bodies and even the golden body of the sixth patriarch, undergo the process of arising, abiding, decay, and dissolution. However, it is precisely because we understand impermanence that we cherish the present moment more deeply and courageously take on the responsibility of upholding the true Dharma. After this calamity, Nanhua Temple was restored, and the golden body of the sixth patriarch was securely enshrined. However, who could have imagined that more than 1,000 years later, this golden statue would once again face the threat of destruction? Through a millennium of change, the rise and fall of countless dynasties, the golden body of the sixth patriarch remains safely seated within Nanhua Temple, witnessing the vicissitudes of the human world. However, in the summer of 1966, an unprecedented storm swept across the land of China. This golden statue, having endured countless wars, faced the most severe test in its history. It was a scorching sunny afternoon when the bell of Nanhua Temple abruptly ceased. A group of young people wearing red armbands rushed into the temple, holding sticks and poles filled with anger. They claimed to be the breakers of old petty cults and aimed to thoroughly eliminate feudal superstitions. The few remaining elderly monks within Nanhua Temple were gathered in front of the Mahavira Hall. One of the venerable monks, named Minghai, was already past 70 years old. He had once been the attendant of the venerable old monk Subhuti and was thoroughly familiar with the history of the monastery. All the Buddhist statues here are symbols of feudal superstition and must be clearly understood as such. Especially that so-called sixth patriarch's golden body is simply a trick to deceive the masses, the leading Red Guards shouted while waving their little booklets. Venerable Minghai, elder monk, tremblingly stepped forward and said, "Amitabha Buddha, dear small benefactors, this golden body of the sixth patriarch has a history of over 1,200 years. It is a precious national relic and an important transmission of the Chan tradition. Please do not damage it." "What cultural relics? All of it is deception," a Red Guard sneered. "I want to see if this so-called golden body truly remains incorruptible for 1,000 years. Thus, the golden body of the sixth Patriarch Huineng was roughly taken down from the altar's canopy and carried to the open space in the center of the temple. Venerable Minghai's eyes welled up with tears, yet he was powerless to stop it. At that moment, he seemed to witness the scene of the imperial army invading the temple 1,200 years ago, the history strikingly similar in an astonishing way. "See, this is what you are superstitious about." It was nothing but a mummified corpse. The leading Red Guard pointed a stick at the golden statue and mocked it. Suddenly, a young Red Guard took out an axe and said, "Let me prove that this is just ordinary wood." He raised the axe high and struck down on the golden statue. At the very moment the axe was about to fall, the venerable elder monk Minghai rushed forward with astonishing speed and used his own body to shield the golden statue. With a muffled thud, the axe struck elder monk Minghai's shoulder. The old monk let out a muffled groan as fresh blood immediately stained his gray robe. The old man is courting death. The Red Guards, shocked and furious, were incensed beyond measure. Venerable Minghai, kneeling on the ground with palms joined together, recited, "Amitabha Buddha, young practitioner, this old monk vows to protect the Dharma with his very body. You may strike me, but please do not damage the sacred golden body of the Patriarch, for it is not only a treasure of Buddhism, but also a precious gem of Chinese culture." The scene fell silent for a moment. The restored Red Guard seemed shaken by the old monk's actions, his axe trembling slightly in his hand. However, the leader of the Red Guards quickly regained his composure, saying, "Don't listen to this old reactionary," and pulled him away. Several Red Guards stepped forward, seized elder monk Minghai, and dragged him to the side. Then, several axes and hammers struck the golden body. Watching the once solemn golden statue being gradually destroyed, elder monk Minghai wept uncontrollably, yet was powerless to stop it. At this critical moment, a commotion arose outside the temple. A middle-aged man in uniform hurriedly approached, followed by several armed soldiers. "Stop!" the man shouted sternly. "I am the head of the Shaoguan Cultural Relics Management Office. This gilded statue has been designated as a nationally protected cultural relic, and no one is allowed to damage it." The leading Red Guards said unwillingly, "This is feudal superstition. We are smashing the four olds." The head of the Cultural Relics Administration solemnly stated that protecting cultural relics is a national policy. Anyone who damages cultural relics is destroying national property. You may repurpose the temple buildings, but the cultural relics must be preserved. After some negotiation, The Red Guards reluctantly left, but as they departed, they warned that they would return. The relic's management personnel conducted a brief inspection of the damage sustained by the gilded statue. The surface of the statue was chipped in many places. There was a deep cavity in the chest and abdomen area, and the left arm was almost severed. The overall damage was severe, necessitating immediate transfer for protection. The person in charge of the artifact said that it is not suitable to take public action now and that it needs to be carried out secretly. The scarred Venerable Minghai struggled to stand up. I know there is a secret chamber inside the temple, where golden statues were historically hidden during times of war. That night, under the cover of darkness, the golden body of the sixth patriarch was secretly relocated to a highly concealed underground chamber within the temple. Venerable Minghai steadfastly insisted on staying behind to guard, despite his injuries requiring medical treatment. The elder monk also needed to go to the hospital. The person in charge of the cultural relics persuaded him, but Elder Minghai shook his head and said, "The mission of this humble monk in this life is to protect the golden image of the Patriarch. If I can defend the Dharma even in this damaged state, I will die without regret." Thus, in that tumultuous era, the venerable elder monk Minghai and several secretly remaining temple monks took turns guarding the underground chamber. They appeared to cooperate with the transformation on the surface, but in reality, they secretly protect this 1,000-year-old golden statue. On one occasion, the Red Guards came again to conduct a search, looking for hidden feudal relics. Elder monk Minghai, risking his life, led them on a large circuit within the temple, deliberately avoiding the location of the secret chamber. When a Red Guard accidentally discovered the entrance to the secret chamber, the old monk deliberately knocked over the oil lamp, using the ensuing chaos to conceal all traces of the secret entrance. Such days persisted for a full decade. The elderly monk Minghai's hair had turned completely white, and his figure grew increasingly stooped, yet he steadfastly remained by the golden Buddha statue, reciting sutras day and night. In those darkest days, whenever he felt despair, he would gaze upon the gold statue, though battered, still serene, as if the sixth patriarch himself were smiling at him. One night, Elder Minghai softly said to the golden image, "Master, even if your golden body suffers destruction, the true Buddha in nature remains unimpaired and unaffected by any external damage." Is this roughly what you intend to teach us? In 1976, the decade of turmoil finally came to an end, and Nanhua Temple gradually restored its monastic workshops. The golden body of the sixth patriarch was also repaired and enshrined once again. On the day when the golden statue returned to the Mahavira Hall, the venerable old monk Minghai, now with hair as white as snow, shed tears of heartfelt joy. Even more astonishingly, most of those who participated in the destruction of the gilded Buddha image in those days later encountered misfortunes. Several leading Red Guards either died in car accidents, suffered from mysterious illnesses, or became mentally unstable. The locals say this is the law of cause and effect, but every time Venerable Minghai hears such news, he recites sutras and dedicates the merit for them, wishing that they may purify their karmic obstacles and attain enlightenment soon. Master Minghai, why do you pray for blessings for those who have harmed you and others in this life? A young monk asked with confusion. Elder Minghai calmly replied, "The Dharma teaches us not to engage in conflict and revenge, but to resolve hatred with compassion and wisdom. Those people are merely obscured by ignorance, momentarily confused. When a sixth patriarch was once pursued by hunters, he was still able to compassionately hold them in his thoughts. How then can we have any reason to harbor resentment? This venerable monk, who once safeguarded this life with his very flesh and blood, embodied the true essence of kindness and compassion through his own actions. However, who would have thought that just 20 years after Nanhua Temple gradually restored its former glory and the sixth patriarch's relic regained its dignity, a third and even more perilous calamity quietly descended. In the early 1990s, with the soaring value of cultural relics, the golden body of the sixth patriarch at Nanhua Temple became a target for criminals. That summer, a middle-aged man claiming to be an overseas Buddhist studies scholar stayed at the temple for several days and showed unusual interest in the golden Buddha statue. Assigned multiple people to keep watch, ensuring he does not approach the golden statue alone. The septuagenarian abbot, Master Ruirui, said to the guest monk that Ruirui was a disciple of the venerable elder Minghai, bearing a great responsibility for the protection of the golden Buddha image. Shortly after the scholar left, suspicious figures frequently appeared around the sixth patriarch hall. Ruirui intensified security measures, especially night patrols. However, on a dark and windy night, the old monk, while meditating in the meditation hall, suddenly felt uneasy and immediately went to the hall of the sixth patriarch to investigate. The moment he pushed open the temple door, he saw three masked individuals attempting to saw off the gilded statue with specialized tools, deep grooves already carved around its neck. "Stop!" Master Ruirui, despite his advanced age, charged at the thief. In the chaos, his left arm was slashed by a knife, the fresh blood staining his robe red. Upon hearing the commotion, the monks within the temple hurried over, causing the thieves to flee in panic. As they departed, they threatened, "Old monk, we will return." After the cultural relic experts conducted their inspection, they were utterly shocked. Had it been any later, it might have been lost in this lifetime and ended up overseas. That night, despite the unbearable pain, Master Ruirui insisted on staying inside the sixth patriarch hall. The sixth patriarch holds profound significance for Buddhism in this life. How could it be diminished in my generation? Moreover, I have promised Master Minghai that I will protect him with my life. The old monk is equally resolute. Since that day, Master Ruirui has managed countless affairs daily and guarded the golden body through the night, undeterred by wind or rain. Although the monastery has installed modern security measures, he still insists on personally guarding it. No matter how advanced technology is, it cannot compare to a sincere and devoted heart. 3 months later, on a stormy night filled with thunder and rain, thieves arrived like a downpour. They cut off the power and communications, armed themselves with sophisticated tools and sedatives, and broke into the sixth patriarch hall again. To their surprise, Venerable Shi was seated inside the shop as if awaiting their arrival long ago. "Devotee, lay down the butcher's knife and attain Buddhahood on the spot," the old monk said calmly. The thieves surrounded the old monk, but found that this venerable wooden hammer monk was surprisingly agile, as he had once practiced martial arts in his youth. In a fit of anger and humiliation, a thief drew a dagger, aiming it at the old monk. At the critical moment, Master Ruirui did not dodge, but instead stepped forward toward the dagger while simultaneously pressing the alarm device concealed in his sleeve. Suddenly, with a sharp sound, a dagger pierced the old monk's chest. He tightly gripped the thief's wrist, unyielding. To protect the Dharma, what harm is there in sacrificing oneself? Bodhisattvas have not yet reached the cause. Sentient beings have not yet attained the result. The sound of sirens blared as the police, who had already been lying in wait outside, swiftly apprehended the thief. Master Ruirui lost consciousness due to excessive blood loss and was urgently taken to the hospital. After surgery, he was informed that his mind remained calm and intact, and he smiled with relief. The injury was a severe blow to the old monk. The doctor recommended hospitalization, but he insisted on returning to the temple. "My humble mission is to protect the golden body. If I can pass away peacefully before the sixth patriarch, it would be a fortunate occurrence." On the 49th day after the event, Master Ruirui passed away peacefully at the age of 72. After cremation, the monks were astonished to find crystalline relics among the ashes, symbols in Buddhism of the successful attainment of a high-level monk's spiritual practice. Even more moving is the farewell letter he left behind, titled "Master Disciple as Pure as Jade." Your physical body has endured 3 kalpas of destruction without perishing. Perhaps this is the true meaning of the indestructible Vajra body. The disciple is fortunate to uphold the sacred traces of the patriarchs in the age of degenerate Dharma, leaving no regrets in this lifetime. Nowadays, whenever visitors pay homage to the golden statue of the sixth patriarch, they hear the story of Venerable Ruirui Master protecting it with his life, experiencing the Chan wisdom and the spirit of Dharma guardianship embodied within. The incorruptible body of the sixth patriarch Huineng endured 3 great calamities without perishing, which is not only a miracle, but also embodies profound Chan, Zen, wisdom. Then, how is it that this golden body can remain imperishable for 1,000 years? What profound Buddhist teachings are ultimately concealed behind it? On the surface, the remarkably well-preserved state of Master Huineng's remains in this life may be related to ancient special preservation techniques. However, at the level of Buddhist Dharma, this phenomenon is regarded as a tangible symbol of the practitioner's liberation from the 3 realms and freedom from falling back into the cycle of samsara. Master Huineng, during his lifetime, realized that innumerable Bodhi awakenings are originally without form. The bright mirror is not a stand. Fundamentally, there is not a single thing. Where then can dust alight? This supreme wisdom transcends attachment and dualistic oppositions, reaching the state of intrinsic purity of one's true nature. As the sixth patriarch said, when the mind is deluded, the Lotus Sutra appears to turn. When the mind is enlightened, the Lotus Sutra truly transforms. The indestructibility in this life is precisely the external manifestation of the indestructible nature of the mind. When we cling to external appearances, we become bound by the cycles of birth and death and change. When we realize the principle that all phenomena are empty, we can transcend the limitations of the material world. Although the sixth patriarch experienced 3 calamities in this lifetime, he still persisted, much like the pure Buddha nature that humanity can maintain amidst suffering. Upon careful reflection, the 3 calamities experienced by the sixth patriarch in this life seem to correspond subtly to the 3 poisons in Buddhism: greed, hatred, and ignorance. During the first Kalpa disaster, the imperial army harbored grudges born from the war. In the second great calamity, the Cultural Revolution period was marked by ignorance and delusion towards traditional culture. In the third great calamity, the greed of thieves for the benefits of cultural relics. These 3 poisons are the fundamental causes of sentient beings' samsara, and the preservation of the sixth patriarch's golden body through 3 great calamities symbolizes the Buddha nature's ability to transcend the bondage of the 3 poisons. What is even more thought-provoking is that the Dharma protectors who stepped forward during each crisis, whether it was Venerable Kongming, Elder Venerable Minghai, or Dharma Master Ruirui, all embodied the fearless yet compassionate spirit of the Bodhisattva. They are willing to sacrifice their own lives, guarding not only a golden statue, but also the transmission of Chan wisdom. As the Buddhist scriptures say, giving up one's life to seek the Dharma, acting for the sake of all sentient beings rather than oneself, embodies the fearless spirit that is the most precious bodhisattva nature in Buddhism. In Master Ruirui, we witness the Chan Buddhist realm of no self in the body and no ego in the mind. Facing the sharp dagger, he did not act out of impulse, but made a conscious choice awakened by the critical moment between life and death. As the sixth patriarch said, the earlier mind is deluded and entangled in samsara, while the later mind realizes enlightenment and attains Buddhahood. When the sixth patriarch endured 3 great calamities in his lifetime without regret, should we not also reflect on whether, in this noisy world, the Buddha nature within our hearts, the innate kindness, wisdom, and compassion, is undergoing a modern form of tribulation? The comparison on social media provokes greed, cyberbullying stirs up hatred, and fragmented information fosters lustful thoughts. These are the 3 poisons that erode our inner mind. However, just as those bhikshus who are willing to protect the Dharma at the cost of their lives, can we also guard our own minds with the same dedication? We do not need to accomplish earth-shaking deeds. It is enough to adhere to the teaching of the ownerless arising of mind in daily life, not clinging to external disturbances, and naturally cultivate wisdom and compassion. A single virtuous thought, an act of forgiveness, or the practice of mindfulness all serve to protect the spirit within our hearts. The mind may undergo calamities, but the Buddha nature is never extinguished. The physical body will eventually decay, but wisdom endures eternally. May we all become faithful guardians of our intrinsic Buddha nature, maintaining that pure original mind amidst the ever-changing and complex flow of time.